Well, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. This is always one of the favorite things that we, when I say we, the city council, myself, all of our team will do each year, and it's really very much appreciated that you take the time to be here. So I want to start by recognizing the Mayor Shannon Martin, Councilmember Stephanie Morgan, Councilmember Dave Pickett, Councilmember Anthony Bana. I know Councilmember Caraballo wanted to be here. She's on a tour over to the east or the west coast, meeting with some of the council members and mayors over there as part of her League of Cities duties. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. The council members really enable the staff to accomplish great things. They provide the leadership, the direction, and the funding for us to get things done. And I hope that as we go through what should be less than 45 minutes maybe, you'll see all the things that Port St. Lucie is doing, and you'll be as proud as we are of what's going on in our city. So I want to start by asking some questions. And I want you to, if the answer is you're one of this group, hold up and put your finger up like that. So do we have any folks who are realtors, brokers, associates in the class? Hold that finger up. Right, very good. All right. How about anybody in the construction industry, whether you're a sub, you're Maddie who keeps all the seagulls herded. Anybody in land development? All right, Brad. Okay. A real retail? Yeah, very good. Anybody who's a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Yeah, right. A resident or a business owner in Port St. Lucie? See? Okay. So you know what you all have in common? You're all leaving fingerprints, right? You got this finger up, right? You're touching your city. You are leaving your mark on it. Your fingerprints are on everything that I'm going to talk to you about today, because what you've done, as whether you're a realtor kind of selling the vision of Florida for our community, you're in the development industry, Brad, you're making Port St. Lucie the city of today and the city of the future. All of us, all of you are what we're talking about today. So everybody in this room held their hand and their finger up, right? One way or another, even Pete Tesh. All of you are putting your fingerprints. Sean, you got it on Port St. Lucie, right? So thank you. And as we go through, I hope that you'll see something that you'll know that you had a direct responsibility and you supported, or maybe you opposed, because you're right, but you'll get a sense of kind of what's happening in Port St. Lucie for the last year, and then we're not stopping. We're working furiously on the next year. So the city is the seventh largest city in the state. We're closing in very fast on number 6. We are now 224,950 residents, and that was as of April of this year. So we're, I'm sure, well over 225,000 residents now. So it doesn't happen by itself. And people didn't all move in this year. It's over the years. The city was founded in 1961. In city years, that's a baby city. And yet here we are just 60 years later as a city of 225,000 people. So a couple of interesting things, as many cities are actually stale, not doing much. Some of our cities in the Northeast and the West are actually losing population. Last year, Port St. Lucie gained over 11,000 new residents. In 2020, we gained 10,000 new residents. So in the course of just 2 years, 20,000 new people have moved into Port St. Lucie. And so one of the challenges that I would have for everybody in this room, everybody who held their finger up and said, my fingerprints are on this city, invite those folks to be part of the community. Engage them. Help them understand what a great place this is, and you want them to be part of it too. It's a rapidly changing community with that kind of growth, and that's a big challenge for any community when you see that many new people move into the community. So just a few statistics. In 21, we issued a total of 68,000 new permits for different things. That could have been adding a new door or rewiring your house or a brand new single family permit. So, but the one that we look at a lot, and it's where all those people move to, is our actual new single-family dwellings. So the permits for new single-family homes, 5,335 new single-family homes were permitted. And so those are all folks, and that for the most part, those homes were pre-sold. There's somebody who was already ready and waiting on their house to be built. One of the things that we should all be pleased of is that we don't have near the amount of speculative building that the city had in 2004, 5, 6. Because we know that the economy will go through cycles, and the worst place for a city to be is with a whole lot of speculative inventory. These homes were pre-sold for the most part. Somebody was waiting on it. And we've seen in Florida, people from other states moving here. Certainly Port St. Lucie is getting residents from South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward County are moving up, and people from New York, Chicago, New Jersey, Connecticut, all moving to our community. And we are welcoming of them all, but take a chance to get them involved in your service organization and invite them to a county commission meeting so they kind of know what's going on. So the good news for the city and the county is we live on revenue. To provide great services, we have to have revenue. And so we've seen with our increase in new housing, increase in values, our millage is, the total amount of revenue is increasing, which is, by the way, helping us to lower our millage, and I'll speak to that a little bit later. But during the last fiscal year, the city of Port St. Lucie's revenue from ad valorem grew 22.8%. There are very few cities in Florida, many fewer in the nation, that are seeing that kind of growth. And what we're going to talk about today is what we're doing with that money, because we're making a huge difference for the community. So one of the questions that I've gotten even at this event in the past is, well, how big will we be? Where are we going? So I want to just talk through that a little bit with you. So Port St. Lucie has currently approved 139,784, so rounded off to 140,000 units. So that's a combination of a few multifamily units, a whole lot of single family. It's also within that amount, the original city was 80,000 platted lots. They were vested with development rights. You just come pull a building permit. Later, the city added another 5,000 platted lots. So we had a total of 85,000 platted lots. Then over time, the city was fortunately also able to have a number of developments of regional impact that also that had a different approach to growth, a very, very comprehensive approach as to how the city would develop within those areas. But that added for a total of 40,000 lots. We have built so far around 80,000 single-family units, around a little bit under 10,000 multifamily units, for a total of 89,501 units. Those are built on the ground. Our 225,000 people live in those units. The thing that is hard, and it's also good because that means fresh blood will be coming into our community, is we have 50,000 units that haven't been built yet. So there's around 12,000 units in our platted area of the city. The balance of those are in the DRIs. And so there are new people that will be coming into our community for a long time. And so that's going to keep us as one of the most vibrant cities in the state. It also will continue to challenge us. How do we engage those people? How do we invite them to be part of our community and to love Port St. Lucie like we do? So as our population has grown, your city council's responsibility, your city staff's responsibility is to ensure that we are providing the infrastructure, the amenities, the place to live that we all should expect from a great city. And so I want to take most of my time to just talk about what we're doing, because there's some great projects that we've worked on. Some have been completed this year. So one of the most obvious areas of infrastructure is certainly roadways, and we'll talk a little bit about those. So a foundational part of our transportation system was changed this year. Previously, the city had impact fees. For city impact fees, the county also charges an impact fee to offset the impact of new growth on the rest of us. So it really is to make sure that the quality stays good. So this year, the city council adopted a mobility plan and fee. That mobility plan encompasses more than just lane miles. It also encompasses multimodal travelways, sidewalks, bikeways, the idea that people should have a choice in how they get around the community. So with that, we were able to negotiate with the county so that there was a reduction in the county impact fee charged in the city. So while we have the mobility fee and the county road impact fee, the total, the aggregate of those two is less than we were paying previously. And so we're very pleased that that worked out, I believe, for everybody. So one of our long-standing projects that's a very large project, it goes all the way from Gatlin to Becker, is Port St. Lucie Boulevard South. This project actually has kind of 4 components to it. We're building the first 2 components right now. Those first 2 components will be complete in the winter of '23. So we got about 1 more year of that. Now I'd like to tell you, then you'll get a breather, but you won't. We're going to go right on to the next section, and then by 27 to 30, somewhere in that time, we'll complete all the way down to Gatlin. There are sections of Port St. Lucie Boulevard South that are 2 lanes currently. If you drive on that area, it's congested. Our goal is to give you choices, add 2 more lanes, make that a corridor that works for the city. So a long-standing project that the county commission has pushed, the city council has pushed, certainly through the TPO, because it is a project that really benefits everybody in St. Lucie County, is the addition of capacity to the overpass over the I-95 at what is St. Lucie West Boulevard. Basically, the project is going to add a parallel span right here, doubling the capacity of that bridge. There's also changes that are being made to the ramps going on to St. Lucie West Boulevard and off in all directions. So a long-needed, long-desired project for everybody involved. So we'll also be doing a joint project with St. Lucie County as that occurs, and we'll be expanding some turn lanes off of Peacock onto St. Lucie West, which will help, as well as traffic from the Mets clear out. So Becker Road, the city's southern boundary, which is probably our least developed area, is Becker Road. The city went in and constructed during the early 2000s the first section. It's a 4-lane with divided section with sidewalks. It ends currently right after I-95 at Village Parkway. So we've completed negotiations, and I want to thank the council members for backing your staff, the mayor for backing the staff. Jesus Morejo and our city attorney really led on this issue, working with the 3 major developers in that area. We will be taking where this currently ends. It'll start out with a 2-lane divided section that'll go all the way. So this is America Walks. I think this is GHO Homes right here. And this 2-lane divided section will go all the way to Rangeline Road. Along that area, Mattamy is a large developer. GL Homes has holdings there, and Akel for ACR development. Those 3 developers are paying for this entire section, and they will go all the way to Rangeline Road. The important part of that is, as a city now, we have easy connections east to west. That is out where McCarty Ranch is, our C23 project, and it'll really unite all of Port St. Lucie. So I want to talk a little about Floresta, Phase 1. This is another big project. Thank you to everybody here who voted for the half-cent sales tax. This was our first major project. The St. Lucie County Commission placed this on the ballot, gave us an opportunity to vote for it. It passed overwhelmingly. A lot of people helped on it. And, whether it was the chamber, the realtors, the county commission, the city council, everybody worked to get that half-cent sales tax passed. This is what you get for a big investment. So this first section of Floresta is what's called a complete street. So we have sidewalks for pedestrians, you have bike lanes, you have center turn lanes here. So if somebody, prior to this, a 2-lane roadway, if you were trying to turn, you started stacking up everybody behind you for about a half a mile. So we were able to remove the conflict points. The roundabout allows traffic to flow smoothly. We now have options for people to have choice for transportation. And by the way, what a great investment in a community that really will yield pride, increases in value, and it helps all of us get around readily. So we'll be moving from here, right about here is the El Cam Parkway, El Cam Canal. We've already awarded the next phase. That'll go up to Crosstown, and there'll be a 3rd phase that'll go from Crosstown up to Prima Vista. So great project, very important for our community. Phase 1 was complete. They're also very expensive. Don't want to hide that. It's expensive to have a major project like that, but because of the half-cent sales tax, we're able to do it. Because sometime in the future, you'll be asked to vote again on a half-cent sales tax. It was an 8-year sales tax, dedicated to infrastructure, county infrastructure, city infrastructure, Fort Pierce infrastructure. And it will really make a difference for us. So some other projects that are in the half-cent sales tax. Our next big project after Floresta is widening California Boulevard from Crosstown to St. Lucie West Boulevard. Anybody ever been in that queue there waiting it can take a while, and there's not much you can do about it. It's oversubscribed. But our next project, we've already started the planning for that, and we'll be widening California for that portion. And at a later date, we'll also, through our mobility funding, we'll be proposing a project that will go south for a while as well. Traffic signal synchronization. We're a busy city. We've got a lot of people on the road. One of the ways that you can add capacity to a roadway without building more lanes is to synchronize the traffic signals. So typically you can get about a 7% increase in efficiency from a roadway just by synchronizing the traffic signals. So our next target for synchronizing signals is Gatlin. We'll be synchronizing all the signals on Port St. Lucie Boulevard South. We already have Crosstown. They don't help if the road is failing. So there's no synchronization in the world that could help on California at this point. It's too busy. But for those roadways that have a little capacity, you can gain back some additional capacity. And this year we resurfaced 45 miles of streets within the city. Again, using the half-cent sales tax. Huge advantage to all of us as residents, business owners, property owners in Port St. Lucie. So this is just a shot of some of the folks who are involved in the planning, the master planning of California Boulevard widening. It's a good example just to talk that for every major project that the city embarks upon, we have a community engagement element. We want the ideas of our residents. We want to hear what's working, what's not working. How can we make sure that the investment that we make addresses those issues to the maximum extent possible? So affordable housing is a big issue. We know that in a very short time, the housing values in all of St. Lucie County, all of the Treasure Coast have really skyrocketed. That's great if you own the home already, not so good if you're wanting to buy, not so good if you're a lower income worker and want to have housing security. Port St. Lucie is working on that. We are partnering with St. Lucie County on a analysis of our housing stock. It should be done very soon. Representative Trabulsi was in here a moment ago. I think she might have stepped out. But Representative Trabulsi, Oberdorf, Senator Harrell, all supported the SHIP funding this year for the State Housing Initiative Partnership that provides funding for affordable housing. And so we're very pleased that we have almost $3 million this year. Thank you. Please pass it on to the senator, to our representatives. It's a big deal that will help us really to try to make sure that we have housing at all spectrums of our economy for our residents. So to get real personal, the city was fortunate to provide a lot to GL Homes. They had proposed that they'd like to build a home for a Gold Star family. This year, the Sandberg family received a home with no mortgage, actually had furniture in it. They're a wonderful family. If you haven't had a chance to meet them, they're out and about a lot in the community. This is the third home that Port St. Lucie has worked with our developers where they've said, what can we do? How can we, and businesses that are in the housing development business, how can we help? GL was the most recently completed home. Prior to that, Mattamy completed a home and gave a veteran a home. And Synergy Home was kind of kicked off with our first home for a Gold Star family. And just, it's hard to imagine, how do you pay somebody back who's lost a child? How do you pay somebody who's made a huge sacrifice for our community? This is one way to do it. And so for any other developers in the room, you're thinking about doing something really to make a difference in the community, contact us. We want to help you help them as well. So cities are kind of strung together with infrastructure. So a lot of it you don't see. It's below the ground. So this year and last year, the city has made a $30 million investment in upgrading the capacity of our Westport utility plants. It's adding the capacity to address almost 6 million gallons a day of sewage, and we provide clean water for everybody when it's all over. So, and we're also providing gray water in our community. So in addition to that major investment, we've had over $10 million of just investments throughout the community in upgrading our water and sewer. We were, from my perspective, early on when the city first acquired a utility, and it was started by General Development Corporation, they did spare a lot of investment. They used the smallest pipes they could, and didn't always check their joints to make sure they would last for 50 years. And so we do a lot of work as a city, upgrading, replacing, repairing lines to make sure that we all have that very basic level of service. This kind of will lead me into my next slide. There are services that you don't want to talk about. You shouldn't have to talk about, right? They should just happen. There shouldn't be a lot of discussion about it. So water and sewer lines is one of those services. It shouldn't be on the tip of your tongue all the time. What's happening with the water line here on Naranja? It's not a good sign if you are talking about it. So solid waste. We had a bad year. It was not the city's fault, but it is the city, so it's hard to hide from. Our provider forgot how to provide solid waste services. I don't know how that happens. They were paid a lot to do it. So we replaced our provider in record times. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. We have a new provider, and literally in 6 months, we went through a proposal process. We crossed every T and dotted every I to do it in a legal manner, but we did it in light speed. Most cities that look to replace their solid waste provider will take a year and a half, maybe if you were very fortunate, a year. We did it in 6 weeks to select the new provider. From the date that Waste Pro said they were leaving Port St. Lucie, thank you. 6 months later, FCC had bought all their trucks, hired all their people, started their new route. Incredible. You just have to, if you're not in the business, it doesn't mean much to you. If you have a little bit of sense of how hard it is to do a major infrastructure change, which is what that was, in 6 months, it was very hard. So FCC has so far hit the ground running. They are using an automated service for garbage and recycling. They're continuing to pick up vegetative debris and picking up the larger bulk waste. So while I have a captive audience, I want to ask you to do a few things. We went to a once a week service for garbage, recycling, and vegetative waste, and bulk waste. So those are all once a week, and once a month bulk waste is once a month. And we did address some of the issues to reduce the amount of trash that was being put out all at one time. No vendor was able to really handle that well. So a couple little things. Keep your carts 3 feet apart. That's important because we're using an automated system. It can't pick them up if they're shoved together. We want to make sure that your lid is facing out toward the street. People are learning this, but it tears the cart up if it faces inward. They can still pick it up, but it can bend the lid, and then we have to live with those carts for about 10 years. And go on the city's website and find out what your day is for bulk waste. So every citizen has a route, and every route is a day for bulk waste. And so people are starting to see it because we all watch our neighbors. But it's important to go online, just understand, and don't put your bulk waste out 3 weeks ahead of time, because nobody's going to pick it up. And then our city doesn't look safe, clean, and beautiful like we want. So just want to mention there are a lot of services the city is directly responsible for that make for a great city. One we're not responsible for, but we all benefit from, is healthcare. We're very fortunate as a city to have 2 outstanding providers and a third provider entering our market. So HCA Florida St. Lucie, they went through a big branding initiative this year. Cleveland Clinic at Tradition. Those 2 are outstanding healthcare providers. I have spoken to them. I know that they are both investing in adding capacity. They haven't made their announcements yet, but they will be keeping up with our growth as a city and a county. And in this year, Tenet Health Care announced that they will be opening a 54-bed surgical hospital in Port St. Lucie, and that will be located on Becker Road and the Turnpike. And so those are all important to us as residents. We want to know if we get sick that there's a quality healthcare provider that'll make sure and they see us through and back to wellness. So when Tradition Land, which was the successor to Core, and also was part of the overall development of our Tradition area. When they first started, they had a vision of jobs in Port St. Lucie along the I-95 corridor between Gatlin and Becker. And it materialized kind of slowly. But the first big investments that occurred were the former VGTI building and the Torrey Pines building. Well, today, those buildings are not the same occupants, they're better. And we have the Cleveland Clinic Institute for Research, FRIC, and we have FIU's graduate programs now in Port St. Lucie offering research fellowships for FIU graduates. They're also going to be having their medical school interns and students in their latter years coming up and partnering with Cleveland Clinic. So there'll be education occurring here, but for their medical school students, and they'll go right across the street at Cleveland Clinic and apply what they've learned. That's a really special thing for Port St. Lucie, a really special thing for our community. That's translational, taking ideas and putting them in so that we benefit from those ideas. So between Gatlin and Becker, and particularly south of the lake, which Cleveland Clinic Tradition is on, was 1,200 acres of fallow land. That land has now been master planned. I'm going to show you some remarkable drone footage of what's going on there. But I've had the good fortune of being invited here, I think 6 times by Teresa. And when I started, we talked about this area, and we did a drone flyover. Anybody want to guess what you saw? Saw palmetto, it's our state bush, and weeds. 1,200 acres, saw palmetto and weeds. So now it's very different. So Southern Grove is our major job creator, is joined by the Midway Business Park and Legacy Park within Southern Grove. So I'm going to hit on some of these very specific new developments literally that have been CO'd in the last year. But I want you to look and see kind of how far we've come. So this is the new Amazon last mile. Got its CO or its temporary CO last week. FedEx is up and running. I think they opened in November of last year. So one of the great things about our partner Sandstone that Pete Tesh introduced to is they have access to a lot of capital. So they've now built over 700,000 square foot of spec space, which I know Pete and Jill Marassa and Wes McCurry all want, because you want, businesses don't want to wait. They want to see it and move in. And Tamco kicked it all off, and we're very proud of them. And we've traveled from south to north, so now we're up at the Cleveland Clinic Research Institute. There's Cleveland Clinic Tradition. Important, you just saw that section of land that looked like it was newly turned up. Cleveland Clinic is filling in and has filled in a very large dry retention area. They're going to be moving their parking out to that large dry retention area, freeing up the space for the next expansion of Cleveland Clinic Tradition. So lots going on. So I'm going to just hit on a few of the very specific. So Oculus has started construction. They are a manufacturer of lenses for surgery on eyes. They're headquartered in Germany. They are really a phenomenal company, and they've started construction on their new 55,000 square foot building. So Excel, Florida. Excel should be getting their CO in December, right, Pete? Excel is a coated wire manufacturer. They're used in the aerospace industry for their wire. It is very high-end coated wire. So if you were flying a spacecraft to the International Space Station, you might have Excel wire in your spacecraft because it's so pure and so well done. So, and they're moving their equipment in and will be complete in December. So FedEx, we saw a little bit earlier, a 245,000 square foot, 450 total jobs, a mix of full-time, part-time. Cheney Brothers is under construction. It's 380 jobs. They will have a butterfly-shaped building, and so they'll have a cold storage area, dry storage area, around 427,000 square feet when they're complete. And then over here, I can't tell you what these are. And maybe Pete or Jill will tell you. But with Project Green, which is a wholesale grocer warehouse distributor, and Project Apron, which is a wholesale facility as well, and warehouse distribution. Each of these projects are 1 million square feet or more. So both projects, 1 million square feet, and their number of jobs will start at 200 to 400 or more. So very, very big, substantial investments in our community. And this is, of course, this is the two Amazons. This Amazon is the last mile facility, and this 1.1 million square feet Amazon is a what's called a non-sort facility that ships all over the region, meaning like Southeast region. So So we don't just build million square feet buildings. We build a lot of buildings that are smaller and all that add to the fabric of our community. So Galleria Farms bought a piece of property that was a parcel that the city had owned for a while in the LCT Industrial Park. It's a cold storage facility for flowers. And so they'll be bringing in flowers here and distributing them all over the area, all over the state. And we've seen some of the things they do. They're really a cutting edge supplier of cut flowers, to nurseries, to florists all over the nation. So really excited about that. And they'll have 201 jobs. So pretty important. This year, and I know Jill Maras is here, Jill's favorite project was Chandler Bats. Chandler relocated to Port St. Lucie. This is a major bat for the national baseball players. So it's really, if you were to go and look in the dugout, you'd probably see a Chandler bat. And then we've just starting construction on Total Truck Parts. So a lot of built environment, but we also have to preserve our natural environment. And so the city is engaged in projects that are unique for a city. And probably the one that's the most unique is our C23 water quality project. This project entails 7 cells, all of around 200 acres each, where water is pumped out of the C23. It can percolate, can evaporate. In each of these cells, when it's complete, when all 7 cells are complete, it will filter out and divert so that it can be cleaned up 21% of the water in the C23 basin. And that's a big deal. And it's interesting. You probably can't read these, but these are all the different cells. And we're now completing cell number 4. So we're funded through cell number 4. We've designed cell number 5. And we're just, we're not going to be stopped. We're going to get all 7 cells. And thank you to the legislature for all of the work the legislature's done to help us get funding. So in addition to that really large project, we're doing a lot of smaller projects. And a real good example is the Sagamore Basin treatment area that was just completed this year. And again, these are this year's projects. So Sagamore is an area off of the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. This area had more effluent going into it that you could trace. And so it needed some kind of a basin treatment so that we intercepted the water coming out of the area before it got into the North Fork. And so we were able to get funding from the state, from the federal government, and city funding, and we built these water treatment areas that capture the water and are able to cleanse it before it ultimately gets out into the North Fork. So just a little plug, many of you may have volunteered on one of our Adopt the Street programs or with our Keep Port St. Lucie Beautiful. It starts with little small things, picking up a piece of trash, if you see it, throwing it in the garbage. Don't throw it to begin with. And then on our streets, they don't clean themselves automatically. We don't have some big vacuum that comes around all the time. So Keep Port St. Lucie Beautiful is on the 20th anniversary, and our Adopt the Street, it's on the 30th anniversary. So in addition to the built environment, we all appreciate art. We appreciate the visual environment that makes us appreciate where we are. And so these are some examples of the last year that are happening in Port St. Lucie, new art, one that's just recently been installed. These are agaves, and it's a little field of agaves at Verano at the entryway, except the biggest one's about 12 feet tall. They are cool. If you haven't had a chance, go by and look at them. And then my favorite piece of art in the community is the spinnaker. It's in the roundabout on Becker Road. And then now, a new icon for the city. This is the Heart in the Park. Madame Homes is providing this as their public art. This will be the largest built heart in the world. So 70 feet tall from ground level down here to the tip of the heart. It's a polished steel sculpture. At some point, you'll be able to go up in it and and look at an observation deck. And it is cool. So the artist is named Jeffrey. He's done artwork in Orlando, in South Florida. We called him, the council called to talk to him this year, and he answered the phone in the Philippines. So he's been commissioned to do a major piece of art in Manila. And so he's well-known, world-renowned. His artwork is going to be right here in Port St. Lucie, and I'm very anxious to see it. So we're also building some great parks. I want to cover each of these just a little bit, but the Port is our signature park as a city. Tradition Regional Park and Torino. So the Port is it's a multi-year project. So we started, if you've been to one of these before, we've shown you the boardwalk along here that ultimately gets connected all the way up to Veterans Park. Right now, under construction is this section right here. It's a world-class playground. It's a little bit of open space, the parking, the restrooms, all the things that will make the rest of this function. This will be complete in summer of '23. We're currently working on the Peacock Lodge renovation, and we have in our 5-year funding plan to restore the Peacock Home. And so this is preserving our past while we're moving forward. And we are, and the council members would say, okay, Russ, where is it? We are finalizing, and Jennifer Davis promises me we're like really close, at least for this site, which will be a restaurant that will complement the entire park and will be Port St. Lucie's waterfront restaurant. So from an active rec standpoint, and we know we have to hit all the elements, we're going to be partnering with Mattamy Homes to build Tradition Regional Park. It is an active park that will have baseball, softball, soccer, walking trails, all the things you would expect to have in a great city park. And it will be regional in nature for all of our community. So we're in the design phase now of Torino Regional Park. This parcel has been owned by the city for a while. It's around 120 acres, 195 acres. Torino, East Torino area, and we're just starting the master planning. So if you live in this area, you've been looking for the place for an active sports, get involved in this master planning. It's going to be really, really good. And we have, on our website, we have information about how to get involved in all of these. So City Center, you're in the anchor of City Center, the event center. The city acquired in March the additional 20 acres that took us forever because it was very, very complex to acquire. We're currently working on a master plan for City Center. There'll be additional hearings and opportunities to engage as soon as next month. Look at our website. You can see all the dates and ways that you can interact. So just want to hit a couple things. You expect your city staff, your mayor, your city council to be responsible, to be accountable, and I'm here to say we are. So our millage rate has been reduced for the last 7 years. Every year for 7 years, we've reduced our millage rate. We have started in FY 15-16 with a millage rate of 6.6 mils. We're now down to 5.3 mils. So more than a full mill reduction in our overall millage rate. And you can see this is what you want your millage rate chart to look like. We're always going down. A big issue when I first was chosen as your city manager, and the council really was driven to work on it, was our bonded indebtedness. So around 2012, it peaked at $1.1 billion of debt. The city council has had a strategic initiative, very consistent, reduce our debt. We are now down at $665 million in debt. So from 1.1 billion to 665, a very significant 36% reduction in our total debt, and yet we're doing all these great things. So it's a combination of managing the current spending, making sure that we're keeping our eye firmly on the ball of reducing our debt, but also making sure that we're following the council direction to ensure we have a great community. So our bond rating, as a result of all of that, our bond rating has improved, which means when we go to the market to borrow money, we've gone from an A+ bond rating to a AA, which is actually an improvement. And that means we borrow money at a lower rate, which means you can put more money in projects, you can build more roads, you can build more parks. Port St. Lucie wouldn't be Port St. Lucie without being safe, a place you can make an investment, a place you can feel good about walking outside at night in a shopping area. And we are the safest large city in Florida. We are the number 2 safest city in the nation. So, Mayor, number 2 in where? The nation, yes. That's not like in Florida, that's in the United States. That is a huge compliment to our community, compliment to your mayor and council and our police department. We're very, very community oriented. The council did set a goal 4 years ago to open up a new District 5 in the Tradition area. We are 4 years into that. We've been adding employees each year. So this year we started actually patrolling in this District 5 in 2 areas of it. Next year we'll set the entire district up, and it is really a very special thing to make sure we're keeping up with the safety of all of our new development areas. So I'm at the end. So what's the buzz about Port St. Lucie? What do we say about it? What are other people saying about us? We're the number 7 fastest growing community in the United States. We're the number 8 best place to retire. We're the number 8 best place to live in Florida. We're number 3 for a destination for U-Haul nationwide. We're the number 6 place where young buyers are coming to buy their first home. And we're number 15 for the best place to be in the real estate business. So lots going on in Port St. Lucie. Your fingerprint all over every one of these things we're doing. Every one of you had something that you touched on one of these projects, even if it was just, I paid my taxes, or I contributed to the community in different ways as a nonprofit. Thank you for touching all of Port St. Lucie. All right, so my shameless plugs. Scotty McCreery, any American Idol fans? Yeah, so Scotty won American Idol like 3 years ago or so. He's now got Grammy Award winning records, and he's coming to Port St. Lucie. He's coming to this event center, Linda McCarthy, yeah, on February the 11th. And then for those of you who grew up in the 80s, I was grown already, but I remember him. Everclear is coming in April of next year. So we're working, one of the council's directions for staff was try to get more entertainment for our community. Try to get bands that people want to go to, so that we don't have to go somewhere else. We have a great event center. Today's activity, with the business group is very important to our community. Using this event center is really good because, and so we're trying to make it alive in the daytime and in the evening. So see Linda if you want to know how to get to the ticket window. All right, thank you very much.